Wanted to show you guys an up-and-coming company in the fishing market today with some epic gear that you guys are gonna wanna have on your boat. Let's do it.
Yay!
What is going on, Coastal Worldwide? Guys, welcome home. Blaine and myself are in the backyard right now with a table full of some really sexy looking jigs and some epic looking lures, and we're gonna walk you guys not only through everything on this table right now, but the applications we plan to use these lures for, because JYG Pro Fishing is a slow pitch jigging company by heart. But these guys have done a fantastic job in the last 24 months or so expanding into markets, not only just saltwater, but also freshwater stuff, pompano jigs, crappie jigs, and some pretty epic lures that we're gonna be using for some monster tuna as well. Let's get right into it. All right, as you can see, the table is very, very full here, and basically we've got this table split with this side of the table having all the new stuff we just got in from JYG. We've got a few rods behind us to talk about as well, and then we've got some of the stuff we were already stocked up with. So we're gonna go through each and every collection of jig, probably starting with slow pitch jigging here, and then we're gonna tell you guys what we plan to use them for and what you guys can use them for to catch your next big fish. So let's get straight into it. We did a little bit of a restock when it comes to one of our favorite jig series from JYG, and you can already see what it is over here. It's the deep and it's the strikes. So let's get right into the strikes. The strike series restock here was two-part. We needed some heavier jigs. This is a 540 and a 540 right here. Two really big jigs that we can be using to get to some deep water fish in the Gulf of Mexico or on the east coast of Florida as well. A good rule of thumb when you guys are slow pitching, George has talked about this a lot in some of his slow pitch jigging seminars, is 100 grams per 100 foot of water, or 1 gram for 1 foot of water. Now this can be put back and forth a little bit. You can be in 500 foot of water and not have to grab the 540 gram jig. If you're in the Gulf of Mexico and it's a really calm flat day, we might reach over here and grab one of these Strike 340s. Presentation is key, so you also want to match your jig size to not only be able to get to the bottom, but maybe what those grouper, snapper, amberjack, whatever your target species is feeding on. So this is obviously a big presentation jig versus the 340 right here, but we've killed a lot of really big grouper on this 300 size, and this 540 is gonna fit in just perfect for that same application. If Blaine and myself are in the Gulf of Mexico on a low current, really calm day, and we're in 1,000 foot of water, I am never going to hesitate to pick up this jig right here and send it down to 1,000 feet deep. We also needed a restock on the 440s as well. So we've got one single 440. This is also going to be a slow pitch jigging application for your grouper, for your sea bass and stuff like that. So we can take these strikes, we can add them over to our big Haas collection over here. These jigs are absolutely fantastic, and I love the strike series. But like I said, the strike series restock was a little bit twofold, my friend. And as you guys know that watch the channel a lot, Blaine and myself are absolute tuna addicts. I am not afraid to come out and say it, man. We absolutely love smacking some yellowfin and blackfin tuna in our local waters here, and that's what these next 6 jigs are for. And as you can tell, I'm just gonna pick these up and kind of do like a this. We didn't know what color was gonna work best for this application, but these Strike 240s are the perfect, so nice weighted size for speed jigging and slow pitch jigging for yellowfin tuna and blackfin tuna, either in open water or around our oil rigs that we get here in the Gulf of Mexico. To, you know, when you roll over and you're marking those fish in 600 foot, you're marking those fish in 300 foot, 100 foot. These jigs are fantastic to go down. And like I said, we couldn't choose a size or a color that we liked. Now, I'll say that this is definitely Blaine's favorite right here. Is the gold. It's like a gold style 240, and then I'm a big red guy, so I picked, when we're shopping on the website, when you go to the JYG website, it's kind of like you're like a little kid. You know, you get on there and they have all these color options, and then they even have a limited edition tab. We'll talk about that later on. So I was going through here, found the red and the limited edition tab on the Strike 240, and was like, ooh, take the other one out of the cart. I want this red one. But I gotta say, probably your most I don't know, appropriate application, like being really adulting when you're jigging, is to have some match the hatch style, guys. So we got a silver here, and we've got kind of like a purple blue. This is really gonna match those flying fish and those hardtails that are, you know, shooting around out there when those tunas are fired up. This is gonna be perfect. And then we've got a sardine color, which is just, ooh, very nice jig and a very nice color. And then obviously, once we run these jigs a lot, and if Blaine catches, you know, I don't know, 4 giant yellowfin tuna on the gold, maybe we'll have to get some more gold. So we've got some tuna jigs as well as the slow pitching jigs, but we're gonna move on to our next favorite size or style of jig, which is the deep. We've got the deeps right here. We already have 2 400s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 300 size deeps, and then 1 200. So to advance our 200 size deep collection, we wanted to get another 200 in Blaine's favorite color yet again, a little bit of the gold flash, very nice. The 200 size deeps we probably won't use as much for jigging for tuna. This will be a little bit shallow water, really like snapper, mangrove snapper, amberjack, and maybe on those calm days when we push 300 foot and we're around some scamp, a 200 size you might be able to get away with. Obviously the 300 size for what we do in the area we fish a lot, which is really 300 to like 650 foot of water. The 300 size, whether it's the deep or the strike or the semi or the wild, 300 grams just really fits the bill. So the 200 goes over there for our stock. And what we're aiming at is restocking, and what you guys should be aiming for when you guys are stocking up on the JYG slow pitch stuff is you want to have at least multiple sizes. So I always know when Blaine and myself go fishing, obviously there's gonna be 2 guys jigging here, and if we only have one size or two jigs in the same size or whatever, if we start catching fish on this, you know, orange crackle, and I'm just lighting them up, but we only have one of these, Blaine's just gonna have to do without, you know what I mean? He's just gonna have to wait to the next spot and maybe find one that works. So we always try to keep a couple, you know, of the same size jigs in stock. So that's why we got another 200. We have 2 400 deeps already over here, so it's time for a restock to get 4 total 400 deeps. I got my favorite Rasta colored 400 deep right here. I've caught an absolute, my PB snapper came on this jig in the 300 size. This color does really, really well. It's really flashy. I don't even know what they think this is down there. I don't know. It makes me feel better, and I get pretty excited throwing it down there. And then like we said, when we go to the more adulting size, you got a big, giant yellow edge grouper down there, and these deeps do, I mean, it's an original jig by JYG, and they do a lot of fluttering on the way down, and then when you pick it up, it's gonna get up, sit sideways, and flutter with that slack line, and I mean, it's just, this fluttering sardine color is definitely going to entice a grouper.
And you know, we've caught some goggle eye down there, and that's not too far off of what a goggle eye looks like.
Isn't that weird? Yeah, that's a weird one to me. Slow pitch jigging is definitely super, super fun. But yeah, there's some goggle eyes down there as well. So moving on to the next series, which is definitely one of our favorites as well for the slow pitch side, is the wilds, and this is where we're going to get into that limited edition talk as well. We restocked 2 wilds, so we have a plethora of 300 size wilds over here. We don't have but a couple of these 220, so we got 2 white crackle wild series JYG jigs. We got a 320 and a 220. The 220, like I said, more of that like 150 to 350 foot. Past 350 foot, we're gonna start picking up these 320 gram jigs. The wilds are fantastic, and they're called wild for obviously one reason. The action of these jigs is absolutely wild. You know, don't think too much into it. But these things, you know, the deep loves to do this a lot. When you pitch the strike up or you jerk the strike up, it's gonna do a lot of like this real quick. This thing is like, it'll flutter and then kick to the side and then flutter and then kick to the side and do all sorts of erratic movements, which sometimes really fits the ticket. So having some of these wilds on board, the last series of jigs specifically we're gonna talk about just came out with a new series called the Semi. And these things are absolute toads. We'll just go ahead and get the toad out of the way right now. Luckily I didn't work my biceps today at the gym, because this thing is absolute monstrosity of a jig. Super thick, super heavy, a 730 gram jig, and Blaine, they get bigger.
They do get bigger.
They one size bigger, man.
They get up to 1,030 grams, and I can probably say I will never touch that.
1,030, yeah, that seems...
For whatever reason, if we get some crazy hair and we're dropping in like 2,500 foot for whatever reason,
we're gonna be somewhere else. We're gonna be somewhere else in the world for sure.
But I mean, most of the time in our fishery, you know, 730 is probably gonna be the highest you need to go.
Yeah, and that'll be for some like really deep water sword fishing jigging and stuff like that. So there's definitely some
Pomfrets.
Pomfret. I was gonna say palmetto. That's not the word.
Yeah, there's pomfrets, barrelfish, swordfish down in those depths.
1,500 to 2,000 feet of water.
Yeah.
And these guys will definitely get down there. So, like I said, when we're restocking these things, we like to have a lot of options on boards. Not just with jigs, but with our stick baits and our poppers. When you go offshore, especially into like dinosaur land, where you don't even know what you could see. You could have a marlin come by your boat. You could have a sailfish check you out, a wahoo check you out. It's always nice to have an option. So we could be bored out there sword fishing one day, have an absolute lights out day, and go, you know what?
Let's just drop one.
Tie the semi on, baby.
Yeah.
So we've got this monstrosity right here. I don't even know where to put this. I'm not gonna weigh the table down too much. And then back on our tuna fishing jig grind here, we decided to go with the semis for our tuna fishing as well. We've got 4 different colors. Again, same thing there. We were just not really sure what color to grab, so we grabbed them all. We've got the white crackle. Very nice limited edition style jig. And then we went the more adulting appropriate stuff. We've got a silver to kind of match the hatch for what's some stuff out there. Out there in our area, obviously flying fish are there, and then we get some weird bait fish that hide underneath the sargassum, underneath the jellyfish and man o' wars that have this pink sort of purple flare to them. And the most challenging thing about tuna fishing at times is sometimes you go out there and they want to eat everything, it doesn't matter. And sometimes you can throw everything you have on the boat and they'll still be feeding. They just don't want anything you got. So you got to go out there with a plethora of different sizes, some styles, and some colors as well. So on the tuna fishing jig side, we just restocked with 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total speed jigs from JYG for tuna fishing, and then we've got a whole table full of slow pitch jigs, and that's what you really want when you go out there slow pitch jigging. Speaking on slow pitch jigging, before we go into these jigs over here, which are very exciting, and we have some very specific applications, we'll talk about the rods we got in. The easiest thing to talk about here, the first off, is the JYG Revolution Pro Series. These are super easy plug and play. Nice thing again about JYG is they give you options where you can get this rod, you pair them with your reel and your braid. They've got the assist cords, which we're going to talk about here in a second as well, and then you've got the jigs. So you can go on JYG, you can order this rod, you can order the assist hooks already tied, you can go on and order the jigs in different styles, different weights, and you can immediately be in the game, which is the biggest thing you need to do if you're new to slow pitch jigging. They've got advanced rods for $700 for guys like Ryan and Tristan, who are real traditional slow pitch jigging guys. They know the technique, they know what they want, they know what they like. But for us, we know what we like, we know what we think would work. But we're still out there playing and doing a lot of learning to become experts in the slow pitch jigging region. And JYG really sets us up there with these plug and play style stuff. So a perfect reel for those of you who are looking right now. The 2017 Osha Jigger 2000 NR HG, it's the high gear, is a perfect size reel for these rods. This is the 240 to 540 gram rod. It's the Power Plus 6'3", and this rod specifically we've been using for a while. I've caught my big giant yellow edge on this thing, a bunch of really nice scamps, some monster snapper, and we've even tangoed with some big old reef donkeys down there in 500 foot of water. And obviously with slow pitch jigging, the rods are meant to work the jig. The reel is meant to crank up the fish. So anytime you're fighting these fish, you never bring the rod up past like straight out 90 degrees. Most of the time, everything's at a 45 or even below. You're really wrenching those fish in. And then when you're jerking or you're pitching, you're letting these rods really whip those jigs, pull that rod tip down, let that jig do the thing. You get tight with it, rip that jig up, and you can have a really great time with these rods. So we've got 2 of them now. We need to get another Osha Jigger in so Blaine and myself can go out and be super efficient with the slow pitch.
And these are the 240 to 540 gram. They have several different sizes. They have a step down and then a step up for if you do want to drop those big old semis, the 730 or the 1030. They've got those rods as well. But this series, the 240 to 540, is probably the most versatile.
Right in the middle.
For our fishery at least. And this is what we'll be using pretty exclusively for a while.
And then also what we like to do, we got 40-pound fluorocarbon. We've got the JYG assist hooks on here, and it's really nice. It's a plug and play. You take one of these split ring pliers, you open up the split ring, you slide a jig on, you put some assist hooks on the bottom of the jig as well, and you're ready to go. But on the way out, it's not going to beat up your rod as you're going through those waves and stuff like that. So let's get into just the last little part, talking about assist hooks before we go into these like specific things that we have here. We got the twin assist hooks. We've got some with the the what is that? What is that color? The green.
Green.
The green Mylar, and then the purple Mylar, or the pink, I guess. We just went with the kind of plethora of different assist hooks there, and we've got a whole entire box full of these guys right here, ready to go. And this is definitely what you want your box to look like as well, full of assist hooks and full of life. That way, when you get out there and having a frustrating day with sharks or with cuda or with amberjack popping you off, you're never going to be like, well, we got to go home. We're out of hooks.
Yeah.
So, and then Blaine's got the 7.0 assist hooks on there, and we got some 5.0s. So we ordered these as well for our tuna. So they do tuna assist hooks as well, singles for those 200 size gram, 240s and 230s for the semis and the strikes. We will be putting one single hook on for tuna fishing, and then if we drop that 730, we can put a couple singles on there for swordfish. And
super heavy duty assist cords on those singles, and
dude, the rigging is fantastic, and it's something that we're pretty detailed about, like what we like and what we want. We'll change something if we don't like it, and that's another nice thing about the assist hooks from JYG. You can trust these things because they're made and crafted by the guys who also fish the exact same things. So let's get this thing off here. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty here, Blaine. We'll grab the smallest guys first. So, speaking of the wild and the wild erratic action that these jigs have, Blaine and myself picked up the wild 20 gram. We picked up 10 of these jigs in 3 separate colors. We got the silver, the blue, and the pink. These things come with either twin assist hooks or single assist hooks. We tried a little bit of both out there. And really what we're gonna use these 20 gram wilds for is using them for spoons. Spanish mackerel, bonita, a lot of hardtails, bait fish, mahi will fall victim to these tiny jigs.
Bluefish, and even redfish. We've caught a couple redfish on them
already.
So far too.
Already caught some redfish on these guys as well. So for sight casting off the beach, all the way to running offshore to getting your bait, or just chasing down bonita, these are going to be our spoons. So right there on JYG, you don't need to go grab spoons at a different company.
Little
you
chicken
can get
dolphin,
them.
smoke them as well.
Oh gosh, dolphin would tear these things up, and these things really match the hatch for those tiny bait fish that are offshore, glass minnows and that kind of stuff. So nice to have a good amount of those. Moving on to our next one, it's another wild series. It's the 60 gram version, and you can use this, like Blaine said earlier, we have the 240 to 540 rods right here. You can go down and do what's called quote unquote micro jigging or shallow water jigging. If you took these wilds, you rigged them with some twin assist hooks, and you were dropping them in 30, 40, 50, 60 foot of water, whether it's inshore or near shore for mangrove snapper, redfish, sheep's head, something around structure, but it's shallow and you don't need a big jig. This guy can do it right here. What we use these guys for, what we're hoping to use these guys for, is we get a very specific open water tuna bite in the summertime here in our area of Pensacola, Florida. And at times, like I said, tuna fishing can be like 0 to hero, and they are cued in on such weird, very specific baits that you just can't find. And last summer, Blaine and myself had a huge struggle with going out on this bite multiple days and only coming home with a handful of fish, watching hundreds of tuna blow up next to us.
I mean, we went out a couple days, and I think we probably saw close to like
1,000. Yeah,
at least
1,000 yellowfin tuna busting up within casting distance.
It's a magical time of year.
It like breaks your brain a little bit. But the frustrating part is sometimes they won't eat your stick bait, your poppers, your jigs, whatever you're throwing, it's not working. So we think the 60 gram wild, 60 gram is a fantastic size. Now we're not talking about how deep you can go down. We're talking about how far you can cast out. 60 grams coming at this size, little bitty, finger length size jigs. Those yellowfin tuna are cued on really tiny baits. So we think what we can do is put a single hook up top, rig these guys backwards like a spoon, and basically just whip them far out. You can either burn these guys, so they do still have this erratic action of the wilds, so it can burn and skip on the surface, or you can throw it out, let it sink down 50, 60 feet or so, and then start working that thing right back, and hopefully this is going to be the ticket for the yellowfin tuna. It probably, for a lot of guys, there's a lot of reasons you would have this jig and use it for. For us, the 60 gram wilds are going to be broken out using them as a spoon, and probably for yellowfin tuna and blackfin tuna as well. Now moving on to the last section, the RYP series is something we haven't touched, haven't used, haven't gotten to mess with or really put our hands on before they came in the package today. There is a ton of different applications you can be using this for. What they're really for is they're for pier fishing, nearshore fishing, off the beach or on the boat, really casting at things. These things are weighted on the bottom and weighted on the head. So they're gonna cast really far, they're gonna hit, and they're gonna do some weird walking, a lot of if you pull them back fast, they're gonna do a lot of shaking. And if you do real long sweeps like we do when we tuna fish, they're gonna wanna whoop, and then they're gonna die, and then they're gonna whoop, and they're gonna die. We've got the 50s, the 80s, and the 120s. So we got a 50 gram, 250 grams, 180 gram, and then 120 gram. The 50 grams, just like we talked about and covered, that same exact yellowfin tuna open water thing. When we're getting into tuna, these guys are always going to be with us on board. And if we're not getting them to eat the poppers or stick baits or the jigs, the 60 gram wilds, this is yet another thing that we can tie on and throw to those tuna. And then Blaine's got the 120 there.
Yeah, this one's a little special. This was
One very specific reason we ordered
picked this one out for a very specific reason. It's those of you know that kind of travel through the Gulf of Mexico, fish the Gulf of Mexico a lot. You know, there's always this legend that you'll find this vertical floating log, palm tree, whatever it is.
Yeah, not horizontal.
Yeah, vertical.
In the water column. In the water column.
Yep, and according to legend, that there are wahoo hanging out below that log, and that purple and pink color, which is a very historical color for wahoo.
Indeed.
This is what we will be dropping for those guys. We've got them loaded with 5/0 BKK hooks, and then a little viper hook on the bottom.
Yeah, a little treble up in the middle there. So yeah, that'll be a pitch out. Let it sink way down there with the 120 gram jig. Get it down to 100 foot, and then just start ripping it back, and hopefully jaw jack a big old zebra, big old striped guy. But yeah, I mean that's another one of those things that's gonna stay on the boat. Maybe we'll never get tied on until we come to that one situation. But if it ever happens and it happens on video, you saw it right here first that we got that guy specifically for wahoo.
Yep.
So that's all the jigs, all the things, and all the applications we're gonna be using. We're gonna pick up the last little bit of rods that we have here. So I'll grab both of these Inshore series rods. Now these are the JYG series of rods. This is the Shore Pro. This is the Shore Pro. This is the Shore Pro. And I've got to say, when these things came out of the box, my first thought was I cannot believe how light, carbon fiber, really just capable and versatile rods. We got both of these in the 7'8" version. There's a medium heavy and then there is a heavy. So we've got the medium heavy on my left side over here, and then I've got the heavy right here. The heavy is rated for 40 to 80 gram jigs. So it's gonna be able to throw those wild series that we talked about. It's gonna be able to throw these RYPs and a plethora of different swim baits and stick baits and stuff like that. And then the lighter series here is rated from 30 grams to 70 grams. So both of these are pretty close in ratings. What we're gonna be throwing on these for now is a BG 3000 lined with 15-pound braid. The most, I would say, over this next 2024 calendar year, this is gonna be throwing a lot for those Spanish mackerel, those bobo. When we go certain places like South Florida and we're doing snakeheads and peacock bass, this will be a fantastic place as well. And then we'll probably find ourselves throwing X-Wraps and jigs for kingfish and even live baiting with these rods for kingfish as well. And then if they make them on the boat, when we go offshore and we run into some weed mats and stuff like that, these will be mahi killers here. It's really nice to be able to throw lures a very far distance, and these rods already, I can tell the distance capability and the lightness of them will be very, very nice. And then Blaine, you got the 8-foot, man.
Yeah, this is the Shore Pro 8-foot. It's rated to 60 grams to 140 grams, the XXH, and we got this for a bunch of different reasons as well, for casting off the beach for big black drum or redfish or anything like that. But another reason is something that we can bring offshore with us with maybe a little bit lighter reel on there, that we can throw these 60 grams or the 50 grams as well, but also put a circle hook and some fluorocarbon on there to pitch to some mahi, some bigger mahi, and or sailfish.
Maybe sailfish.
Yeah. So this rod will be pretty special. We'll have this paired with, right now we've got a 6,000 Akuma Tesoro on there, but we might end up putting a little bit bigger reel on there so we can maybe handle some of those
blackfin tuna, yeah. And yeah, for that very specific bite we talked about, if we slide an 8,000 or a 10,000 size reel on there and we're throwing these wilds, that rod right there may be the ticket to still be able to reach those big tuna.
Yeah.
And I think that rod can handle 60-pound tuna.
I think so too. And I mean, it is rated from, 60 to 140 grams, but I think it might even be able to toss one of these 20 grams out there. And if they're really getting finicky, then that could be something as well.
And you got to be careful. You can't go just because you can throw the 20 grams really far with this rod. I don't want to hook an 80-pound tuna on a 3,000 size reel. So you've got to kind of play the in-between game. So we're just really excited about the series of rods we've got. Obviously, the slow pitch game, like I said earlier, is JYG bread and butter. The guys behind the scenes, George, Rob, Brian, these guys are always creating and always innovating the fishing industry and the jig market and even the saltwater and freshwater market to come out with some new stuff. Like I said, go check out their website. The Pompano jigs are really, really sick. We have a couple of the Pompano jigs in the house as well. We don't do a lot of jigging off the beach, but these guys are always making new stuff, and there's some very exciting stuff that we already know from being on the JYG Pro Fishing team that are coming out very soon, and they're product testing and sending you pictures right now. Kind of where Blade and I fit in with the JYG Pro Fishing team is chasing those offshore pelagic fish.
Yeah.
They have plenty of guys like Ryan and Tristan and Rob and Brian and George himself to do the slow pitch jigging stuff, and we will be doing that, but we will be joining in on those trips, learning and watching, and then we will take this stuff and do pretty much our niche, which is trying to catch really big yellowfin tuna or bluefin tuna all over the country. So what you guys have seen on the table right here not only will kill a lot of fish in our local waters of Pensacola, Florida, but it will travel all over the country, baby. And I'm really excited for what these jigs right here are going to do for us in 2024 and what they can do for you guys in 2024 as well. So hope you guys enjoyed this unboxing video showing you guys our stock, our restock, and then listening to the applications. Hope you guys got something out of it, and hopefully we will get on the water very soon and you guys will do the same. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Catch you next week. You.